spicy. Jimmy Garoppolo on there could be a benefit, but have they kind of burned that bridge?
We'll say this. Gardner Minshew is the best backup in the NFL.
I love Gardner. Welcome to 30 Minutes of Football with Legit Football. I am your host, Brian McFadden, co-founder of Legit Football. It's Wednesday, which means we're back again to have some unscripted, unprepared, unfiltered NFL talk. And I've got my partner in crime, Kevin Phillip Fox.
Let's
joining
go,
me
man.
as always.
How are you?
Kevin, I told you right before we started recording, I thought today was Tuesday. I think the holiday break threw me off a little bit, which is why we started a few minutes late, but that's all right. We're here. We're
Dude, I absolutely love it, man, because I now know that I'll be getting your authentic, unfiltered, unresearched football takes. I'll be getting just straight off the dome, and I'd have it no other way, honestly.
If there was any other show where it maybe was a benefit to be as unprepared as possible, it is 30 Minutes of Football, because That's what we do here. That's what we do. Once again, if you're a first-time listener or viewer, we literally don't script this. It's just 30 minutes, 2 15-minute halves with a short break for halftime. Just me and Kevin going back and talking about whatever is on our minds in football. Could be arguments over who the second best quarterback in the NFL is, or whatever topic comes on our mind. Feel free to ask questions. Hello, Armand, our number one fan in the chat right now.
Armand, it's so good to see you, my friend. I missed you on Monday terribly. I thought of you all afternoon.
So at any point during the show, anyone who asks a question, we're live on LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook and, of course, YouTube. And for those of you who are just listening on a podcast, join us 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific on Wednesdays.
That's fun. See, if I still lived on the East Coast, I would like this show a lot, because it's like, you're winding down. It's like almost bedtime. You're getting ready to chill out a little bit. Oh, I get to go, chop it up for 30 minutes about football, It's that's fun.
Let's give the people what they want, what they came for. I see Anthony, our producer Anthony Wayner behind the scenes, has the timer ready. So I'm going to go ahead and kick it off. 30 Minutes of Football with Legit Football. Completely unprepared, maybe even more than normal edition starts now. I do have a couple things on my mind, but if you have something, Kevin, that you want to kick it off that you feel passionate about,
I'm going to let you lead this time.
All right, so I want to get into Purdy Lance, but not yet. I want to tease that if anybody's watching.
I'm in on that, 100%.
But I'm going to start with a little bit more fun kind of segment. Just came off the top of my head.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about, there are 8 teams that finished last in their division, because there are 8 divisions. I want to talk about, and I put this poll up on Twitter on the Legit Football, which of these teams is most likely we can rank them 1 through 10, or give them a grade for each one, or go through each one from 8 to 1, most likely, least likely to most likely, according to PFF's ranking of who could go to first place. Does that sound like a fun exercise?
Sounds like a fantastic exercise.
Great.
Yeah,
Improv took me 3 seconds. I'm like, ooh, let me do worst to first.
That's why you're the boss, McFadden, because you got that dog in you, dude.
There you go. Well, it's, I'm always hustling. Let's start with the easiest toss-up here. Number 8, the Arizona Cardinals. Once again, this is not our list. This is PFF's list. This is candidates who finished in last place in their division. We can. Do you want to do like a 1 through 10, like most likely to get to first place? So Arizona Cardinals, new GM, new coaching staff, new quarterback at least to start the season, because Kyler Murray is still out. No DeAndre Hopkins, recently released. They did a good job in the draft preparing for 2024.
Yeah.
This year might be a little tough for Cardinals fans.
Absolutely. And I honestly think that if I were a Cardinals fan, I would want a tough 2023.
Yeah. Take your medicine.
It's ugly. It sucks. And like nobody ever wants to be there. It's like the worst place to be in a rebuild. But like, I'm telling you, there's blue skies ahead. And the hardest piece of the puzzle to figure out, theoretically, you have figured out if Kyler's the guy, which A lot of people are very confident he is. I would say I'm on the more skeptical side than average of Kyler Murray, but I
You
don't.
can think he is until you have pick 1 and Caleb Williams is staring you in the face.
That's what I'm saying. That's a huge variable, and they'll probably have another high pick. I mean, I see the Houston Texans getting out of the top 10, but they'll probably
even if they do, that's still a second.
Could be a premium,
maybe top 12, top 15. That's still great considering that would be their second first round pick,
and they got another 2 from them.
Yep.
Yeah, it's gonna be one more year. It's gonna be one ugly year, and if the Kyler ACL recovery is solid, and they if they stick with Kyler, that's one thing. If they go with an entirely new generational Trevor Lawrence, Andrew Luck type prospect, either way, that's better than where you're going to be at this year. So that's a sign sealed delivered. Negative 100 on likelihood of them winning the Super Bowl or going to first place. I would say that it would be very difficult for them to win 4 games.
So we got to rank 1 through 10. We're going to give it a grade, a score,
solid
or whatever you want to call it. 1 through 10. Cardinals most likely to finish in first, or 1. Likelihood 1. Yeah, I completely agree. 1.
I'm in protest that I can't do a 0. I'm in protest, but
I'm trying to. We try to keep some level of
trying to be fair
of fair ratings here. One piece of optimism, and it kind of ties on to what you were just saying. For Cardinals fans, is that at least so far, under new GM Monty Austinfort, there seems to be a plan.
Definitely.
An actual strategy, and it feels like all those years under Steve Keim,
just middling.
Yeah, but it was just like kind of fly by the seat of their pants, trying to figure stuff out, and it just never worked. And I was never a Kingsbury fan, but that's a separate thing. So at least there seems to be a plan that they're implementing. If you're a Cardinals fan, there's actual reason to be optimistic for 2024. Let's go to the number 7 team on PFF's list here, the Denver Broncos. So they changed one major thing. This is everybody last year. Oh, they're a quarterback away. They get a guy at the time who many thought would be the future Hall of Famer in Russell Wilson. Yeah. Oh, that's all they need.
No brainer.
The new head coach Nathaniel Hackett, right? He worked with Rodgers. What could go wrong? How about everything? They were one of the worst teams in the NFL, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But guess what? Brand new head coach, not just any head coach, Sean Payton, who has proven, everybody thinks, he's there with Breeze, but he was winning with Teddy Bridgewater, Taysom Hill for a little while. He went through that. It was not just Breeze. Payton is an excellent head coach, a disciplinarian, Super Bowl winning head coach. What are their chances in a very tough division to go from worst to first?
That's the big thing, right, when it comes to Denver. Because if we're looking at chances to go from worst to first, if it's chances to go from worst to mediocre or smelling a wild card,
to at least finish ahead of the Raiders,
I would maybe give it a 3. I'd maybe give it a 3 or a 4. But it's
to finish ahead of the Raiders, I'd probably put it like an 8 because I don't like where the Raiders are at right now.
Well, that's okay. I can understand that. That's an okay. But even then, third place, you got the teams in the AFC East. I just don't really see a team from the NFC West snagging a wild card unless it's the Chargers. But, that's another thing. So I would say likelihood to make the playoffs, 3, likelihood to win the division, 1.
Yeah, I'm going to go with 1 there too, because even if you have exceed expectations, even if you finish with 10 wins, you're not beating Mahomes.
No.
You're not beating Mahomes. So
nobody is.
I think even Broncos fans can agree it couldn't get much worse than last year. That 12-9 Colts Broncos Thursday night debacle. And literally made them change. They changed the rules for the flexing.
I was one of the 17 people who stayed there for the whole game,
too.
And I hate myself for it.
I watched it. We're NFL degenerates, my friend.
Degenerates. That's the only word. Thank you, Anthony. That's the only appropriate word.
So the one optimism is that it can't get much worse. You got a Super Bowl winning coach, so it will get better.
Super Bowl winning quarterback.
And either you find out what you have in Russ Wilson, or the rest of the pieces there are still pretty good if you have to move on from him after this year.
Yeah.
But in that division, 1, I have to agree. Let's say 1.5. We don't want to tie them with the Cardinals.
I'm cool with 1.5. I'm comfortable with that. Thank you, Armand.
Our fellow degenerate, also stayed and watched that game.
That's why he's legit.
What does that say about us?
Yes, he's got that DNA. He's got that dog in him.
Number 6, Houston Texans. Also new head coach new quarterback, CJ Stroud, already taking reps with the ones in OTAs.
Good.
D'Amico Ryans, former Texans star linebacker, now
Love
come back to
D'Amico.
be head coach after leading a stellar Niners defense. Division a little not as hard as AFC West. You do have the Jaguars there contending, but you have a Colts team that's kind of had an off season, Titans team that's kind of on the way down.
Yeah.
What do you think Houston's chances of going worst to first?
Well, they're my offseason darling team. I absolutely love the moves that they've made. I think that team is setting themselves up for success. The one move I don't love is the haul they gave up to move back up for Anderson. But we've talked about it a lot on this show. It's not going to matter if Anderson's a Hall of Famer or even a very good player. So I can forgive them for that.
It might matter when they're missing that first next year.
It will hurt, but I think the organizational tide is in the right direction. Likelihood to go from worst to first, given the fact that the Jaguars are in their way. I'll give them a 4.
Yeah, I was actually thinking that exact number. I think that's
maybe a little high, a little rich.
Nah.
Right?
You've got. I just. He's never been a head coach, but we've seen what D'Amico Ryans can do, at least with the defense. So I think automatically the defense will be better.
Denver wanted D'Amico as the report. So,
correct.
He's not
Peyton was not the first choice, as funny as that is.
D'Amico's not a slouch.
You've got, a lot of this is going to hinge on CJ Stroud, but Dameon Pierce, great find in the 4th round last year. They had some good pieces on the defense. Jalen Petrie, Derek Stingley, who's injured. Like we just drafted Will Anderson.
Yep, we
got
got
the capital that you signed
Kevin
for.
Singletary, Dalton Schultz.
Singletary's back there. They got added Schultz, Bobby Trees.
Little
Bobby Woods action.
I like that.
Robert Woods.
Bobby Trees. Mechie's back.
Still have Nico Collins, and I'm a big Tank Dell fan. I had one of my fantasy dynasty drafts, and I made sure to get Dell. He was one of my
Tank
guys.
Dell. And he was Stroud's guy. That's a big one.
And they're connected already, it seems. Yep. So that 4 seems right. Not quite halfway, but certainly more optimistic or better chance than the Broncos and the Cardinals.
I just love that team. I've never rooted for a team that wasn't the Bills so hard in my life. I'm going to be a fan of theirs.
Let's go on to the number 5 Cleveland Browns. I think one of the better, almost quiet, well done off seasons with their additions in free agency and the draft. But this all hinges on the quarterback. This all hinges on Deshaun Watson, who had a PFF rating in the 50s for the games he started last. That's not like he's like a 65 and that's below his standard. 50s, like that's like the bottom of the barrel there. And he didn't just come back for one game. He started, I think 6.
Yeah.
But he's got a whole offseason. Everything hinges on him. Plays in a division with Joe Burrow. Lamar Jackson re-signed with that new offense. The Steelers never have a losing record. Cleveland Browns' chances going from worst to first, Kevin.
This one's very interesting because, I think I might have voted for them in the poll on the Legit Football Twitter because they did have a quietly good offseason. I've been really impressed with all the moves that they're making. And you have to forecast, I think, a little bit of a jump. I guess a jump is a weird way to put it. A re-breakout, a reintegration of Deshaun Watson being at least above average. Recalibration is the perfect word for it. Thank you. He
needs a personality recalibration too, but that's a whole nother topic.
Oh my word. Yeah, but I'm optimistic about Cleveland, believe it or not. I would say 5.5 is my. I mean, Cincinnati's in their way. That's tough.
Cincinnati, Baltimore
is the big variable. So maybe 5. I'll bring it back down to 5. But
5. 5 seems right.
It's not above a 5. I mean, I still think. Because that's still an F, right? If
they have great defensive talent, and they did replace their defensive coordinator. They now have Jim Schwartz. Anthony familiar with Jim Schwartz for sure.
Me too. Defense coordinator in Buffalo. He was one of the best.
He's also in
Loved
Buffalo.
Him.
So you brought on an all-star. I'm not so happy about that one.
Love Schwartz.
Schwartz knows how to run defense. Now running this very talented defense that add a lot of pieces in the offseason, and it's not just Myles Garrett and everyone else. So. 5. I might lean at 5.5.
5.5, yeah. Since he's just such
above,
a big boulder,
just above the middle line.
Since he's just such a big boulder.
Number 4, and this is another one. This is kind of like the AFC West discussion. The New York Football Jets, Armand's Jets, who like the Broncos the year before, and we had this discussion last week, Kevin. A quarterback away. That's what people are saying about this team. If it is true, they took Russell Wilson times about 10, and they added Aaron Rodgers,
Yeah.
3-time MVP,
All-time, one of the all-time
39
greats.
years old,
Top 3,
but
all-time.
didn't look any physically declined last year. The offense had some issues, but I don't think there was a physical thing. What are the chances the Jets, in a division ruled by your Bills, my Dolphins on the rise, still Bill Belichick, who ran one of the best defenses in the NFL last year, forget the offensive side of the ball, what are the chances the Jets go from worst to first?
I am going to go maybe a little controversial here, and I'm going to take them down to a 4.5.
I think that's the homer. That's the Bills fan.
You always
right
say
there.
that, Brian. You see, and I respect you for having that opinion. But watch, man, just like it's King of the Hill rules, man. It's the same with Cincy. I mean, that's why I had to take Cleveland down. The Jets, they haven't even proven they can contend in that division. Like, they haven't even been close.
They've had Zach Wilson.
Smelled it. I know.
And
he was the second overall
I'm in
pick.
the division too. I'm a Dolphins fan.
Dolphins definitely have something to say about the Jets here.
Sorry,
Armand.
The Dolphins have gotten better. They added one of the best defensive minds to run their defense in Vic Fangio. Oh, by the way, we added Jalen Ramsey. I mean, this is a team that only got better.
So
but
where
here's
do you take the Jets conversation?
Here's the thing. If Rodgers is peak Rodgers, they absolutely could beat everyone else. They could be Super Bowl contenders. Okay. That is the difference there. It's a big if. It's a big if. They have an amazing defense.
I love Garrett Wilson.
Apparently, Breece Hall is going to be ready for week 1. Garrett Wilson is already lighting up OTAs.
Garrett Wilson's such a savage, dude. He's so good. I love that player.
He is.
I really, really do. What's your number, Brian? Because I want to see how far off we are here.
I'm going to say 6.5.
You're 6.5.
Yeah, I'm going to say 6.5. Because if Rodgers plays at an MVP level, the Jets are going to be pretty damn hard to beat. That's what it comes down to. So that gives them a much better chance. And it's not just as the Bills could be playing at the top of their game, but if the Dolphins are also playing at the top of their game, the Bills still have to play the other first place teams like the Bengals, like the Chiefs. Like it could simply be a matter of the Jets going 12-5 and the Bills going 11-6. Both very good football seasons, or they win a tiebreaker. That's why I think that's still 65%. You know, that's I mean, if you're doing like a percentage out of 10.
I think that the boulder of the Bills is one thing, and that's kind of how I look at this in relation to Cleveland and Cincy. But I don't look at anybody else, maybe the Ravens in the North, but I think the Dolphins are a lot more of a threat. I think the Dolphins have a better chance of winning the division than the Jets do.
Also hinges on the quarterback. I'm not going to lie.
Big truth.
Tua so far, looking very good in OTAs, throwing some dimes. Chosen Anderson caught like a 44-yard in stride. That was the big thing with the Dolphins beat reporters today.
Yeah, so let's just take a quick look at this. Okay,
Armand, let's continue. Oh, I love the whistle. Whistle signals halftime.
I respected it. I respected the whistle.
We will revisit. I want to keep this AFC East discussion going on. Armand says, noted Jets fan, we should have beaten the Bills twice last year if Mosley does not go off sides. That was with Zach Wilson. So I'm just saying, let the trash talking begin. We don't have sponsors yet, so let's keep rolling. I'm ready to go into the second half, Kevin. Quickest halftime speech ever. Anthony, let's get the timer back up because Kevin is itching at the bit to
I got steam coming out of my ears. This freaking guy. I love Armand. He's the
floor
best.
is yours, Mr. Phillip Fox.
Mr. Armand, my friend. That ball hit Gabe Davis between the numbers, bro. Sauce was draped on him before the ball got there. Josh Allen threw that ball 80 yards with a torn UCL, bro. Gabe catches that or the ref calls that. We beat you. We beat you twice. Football's a game of inches. Football is a game of calls. But you can't say that you beat us twice with the Mosley offsides and not let me say we beat you twice if they call the Sauce interference or Gabe doesn't drop that pass. And that's the theme of the year.
Those same themes, the game of inches, is the same reason why the Jets could win the division because these games 100%. Were so tight with Zach Wilson at quarterback. Yeah. If there is a quick transition and Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, at least for one season, they could not only win the East, they could win the AFC. So
I don't disagree with you. I'm taking it a little lower percentage wise, just based on the fact that there's two juggernauts in the way.
You're rating them below the Browns. You think the Jets have a less of a chance than the Browns, who has to compete with Joe Burrow.
Yeah,
Burrow,
what did I
who
say?
beat
5?
the Bills.
I'm going 0.5 difference. I'll bring it back up
Okay.
to 5. I just out of respect
All right,
for
fine.
you're right.
At least
When
get
you
a
put it
5.
like that, it helps. Yeah, it does help me see it more
Oh,
clearly.
Armand with some Gabe Davis trash, saying he's overrated.
I'm not going to disagree with you. He is
I was going
absolutely
to say that
overrated.
you can't really argue with
But
that.
on that play, he got interfered.
Wow.
That's just it's what it is. Nice.
I'm still waiting for my own AI because we got Kevin AI that will say wow, okay every now and
What's
then.
up with that?
What's up
KI.
with that? Let's go to Anthony's NFC North, last place last year, Chicago Bears. But they also have a plan. They're keeping Justin Fields, trading out of the first-round pick, adding DJ Moore, addressing the offensive line in the first round. And this is a team that showed at least some signs on offense if they get at least a little bit better on defense. And a division that is now Aaron Rodgers-less. Vikings due to regress. The Lions, yes, they're favorites, but it's still the Lions. I mean, how do you view the Bears?
Very fair.
As worst to first.
The Bears, I think, are definitely in the same. If we're doing tiers, right? If we were doing tiered lists, I would put the Bears in the same tier as Jets and Browns, as far as like last to first type situations, because I love Justin Fields. And I'm forecasting some growth for him. I love DJ Moore. I don't think he was ever properly utilized in Carolina. I love the additions they've made on defense. My guy Tremaine Edmonds is over there now. TJ Edwards, man, they
upgraded. That might be one of the best linebacking duos in the NFL right now. All of a sudden,
upgraded the offensive line, which was a big problem last year. Deontay Foreman is cool. I'm maybe lower on him than a lot of people are. I'm seeing a lot of like drumbeat for him being like this great, running back steal in the free agency, and I think he'll be okay. I think he'll put together some nice little games. I like Khalil Herbert more. Personally, I think Khalil Herbert is the guy to own in that backfield if we're talking fantasy. But regardless, I would like to say the Bears are at least in the same 5 to 5.5 range, because I do think the Lions are a nice boulder. I believe in them.
Another one that comes down to the quarterback, right? If Fields can, I mean, he was an amazing runner.
Absolutely.
He was actually known to be a really good passer in college. He wasn't known as a scrambling quarterback.
Yeah.
That was a little bit of a welcome surprise. If he can get that passing back, and he's got the weapons, Cole Kmet, an emerging tight end. Now DJ Moore is the number 1. You got Darnell Mooney as the number 2. Claypool is like a red zone target.
I'd love to see Claypool have a resurgence.
You've got weapons, and if Fields can get it together. What was the rating you get? I'm kind of feeling like
a 5.5.
6. Only because I really like the Lions, but
that's what I'm saying.
I would rate them because of the lack of. They have a better shot than the Browns do, merely because of the competition. The Browns have to get over the Steelers, the Ravens, and the Bengals here.
Right.
I could easily see the Bears overcoming the Vikings, who are due to regress with their 11 one-score wins. I mean, if the Jordan Love era goes bad, the Packers are in last place.
Right.
So now you're already at second. You just have to overcome the Lions.
I would like to say
I kind of want to do 6.5. I think I want to upgrade. I'm going to upgrade the Bears.
I think that's what you gave the Jets too. So you're, like I said, same tier. I just would maybe have. I mean, realistically, I do think the Jets belong at the top of that tier. To be honest with you, I think Jets, Bears, and Browns all have a decent shot. But I will say this, Brian: the Vikings. I think people are leaving them for dead, and I don't think it's that crazy. I'm definitely banging the Vikings regression drum. However, they haven't gone anywhere yet, and Kirk Cousins has not really. He looks like he might be getting better with time. He had them.
So it's not a knock of that. It is.
J-Jaff
they were historically
lucky.
Luck has to be a factor
100%.
there. You cannot
100%.
win 11 one-score games in a single NFL season.
Well,
and it's just going to regress to the mean. Even if they win 6 of those, that's 5 less wins, right? They won 13 games last year. Even if their defense is a little better under Brian Flores, it'll balance out.
That they won 13. That's the worst 13-win team I've ever seen in my life.
And they got curb stomped by the New York Giants, who then got curb stomped by the Eagles.
Team. Insane.
So just let's go on to the number 2 team.
Put a pin in that one, but yeah, that's
offseason darling, Atlanta Falcons, who were, by the way, this is an interesting one. They were competing towards the end of the season for the NFC South title. That's a testament more to how bad that division was. Guess what? That division doesn't have the GOAT. That division doesn't have Tom Brady anymore.
Yeah.
They're competing with Carolina Panthers, rookie quarterback, new head coach.
Should be
Frank
good.
Reich, though, great coach.
Frank Reich's great.
You got New Orleans Saints, Derek Carr,
Like their car
Very
a lot.
interesting. They lost their one of their co-defensive coordinators to Atlanta, who is now running their defense. And so they added Bijan. They added a whole bunch of pieces, including Jesse Bates in the secondary. They added who's the linebacker from the Saints, pass rushing linebacker, really good ad. I can't remember what his name is off the top of my head.
Yeah, the name's escaping me right now.
But so how are we lined up? The Atlanta Falcons. Desmond Ridder still the quarterback. One of the best offensive lines in the NFL last year. Best run blocking offensive line in the NFL. Tyler Algier broke the rookie record for 1,000 yards, and they just added a generational running back. Kyle Pitts coming back.
You had me over here getting ready to say 7.5, and then you said Desmond Ridder. And I was like, 7.5 might be hot. I might be taking that one down to like a 6.5. Just strictly due to uncertainty. I don't not like Ridder. You know, I did have him on my worst quarterbacks list, but because he hasn't proven that he's not. You know, he was very, very pedestrian in his starts last year. Didn't turn the ball over at all, which is cool. Love that. If you don't turn the ball over and you throw the ball to Drake London and you let Bijan cook, you should be winning 8 or 9 games at a base level minimum if you don't forecast for improvement and you don't, talk about all the improvements. So on like around the roster. So I would say maybe, I'm pretty comfortably saying 7. How do you feel about that, Brian?
I think that's a little low.
I'm being a little stingier than you. I'm being a little stingier than you.
Think of the division. Even if you're not that high in the Falcons themselves, you can call it Desmond Ridder, sure. But think of that division. They had Desmond Ridder and Marcus Mariota, and they were in the hunt until I think week 17.
Yeah.
Right? And the only reason they didn't make it is because, as bad as the Bucs were, they still had Tom Brady. Well, Tom Brady is gone. They now have Kyle Trask and or Baker Mayfield.
Yikes.
Some combination. By the way, OTAs that I've seen has not looked good for either of those guys.
Horrendous.
This division is up for grabs. Any of these teams can win. So simply because of that, they have the least amount of resistance. Yeah. Add on all the pieces that they added. By the way, they traded for... see, this is I'm missed up. Who's the number 3 overall pick from Detroit, the cornerback that Atlanta just traded for? Jeffrey Okudah. AJ Terrell, they still have we said they have Jesse Bates, shore up that defensive line. Calais Campbell, I know he's older, but he still can do some stuff. He chose to go to Atlanta because he thought they had a chance of winning the division. They kept the whole offensive line, re-signed Caleb McGarry.
Also, shout out to Armand here, David Onyemata.
Drake. Yeah, David Onyemata. Also, they shored up the interior. They literally shored up everything. I think it's Caden Smith. Who is that? I can't think of that linebacker. They had a really good linebacker, a young linebacker from the Saints. Point is, they addressed every side. And so I'm going to say 9. I'm going to say 9. I think
you're like more likely than not they're winning the division.
With
Desmond
we get like August, we'll make our predictions. As of right now, it's between the Saints and the Falcons for me.
I like the Saints. I like Derek Carr a lot in the way. I will say they don't have much else going for them other than the Derek Carr upgrade. They didn't do much else to make their team that much better. But I do just love Chris Olave. I love Jamal Williams. I love Kendry Miller. Like the Saints do have a lot to say about this, which is why I said 7, because I also am forecasting Bryce Young to be competitive. I'm also forecasting the Panthers to win between 6 and 9 games, and in that division, that might do it. That might get you the W in that division. So we do have to pay attention to the Falcons and to the Saints, but I'm going to go 7,
Caden
7.5
Ellis,
range.
that's his name. I couldn't think. Caden Ellis, who had like an 85 PFF grade last year as a linebacker for the Saints. So multiple Saints and their co-defensive coordinator went over to this Falcons defense. They're just poaching him. So I'm going to say 9. I feel good about Atlanta, and especially good because of the lack of talent in that division. It's anybody's game. Why not? Why not the Falcons?
Might be one of those on-air bets we'll have to revisit.
I also, by the way, am a bigger believer in Arthur Smith than I am Dennis Allen.
Yeah, Arthur Smith's cool.
Yeah,
Dennis Smith's cool. They're both kind of in the like middle to bottom tier coaches for
Dennis Allen has never had a winning record as a head coach. When I guess Arthur Smith hasn't either. But Dennis Allen is now on his second job.
But run down the list of his starting quarterbacks, will you?
Fair.
Yeah, fair. Right. It always does.
Which is why I think it's going to come down to the Saints and the Falcons, and I
agree. I do think like I said, I think it would be foolish to pretend like the Panthers won't have anything to say about it. But this is early. We'll put a pin in that. We got 4 minutes left. We got one team left.
Too many question marks for Carolina. I mean, this division, who knows? But
the big question mark I see for them is wide receiver. But I mean, beyond that,
it's still
because I mean,
anytime
Thielen is
rookie.
just
You'd say what you
kinda,
want about Desmond Ritter, but at least he's got a year in the league. He started 4
yeah,
games. I'm a huge fan of Bryce Young. I'm not saying I don't believe in him, but he's still a rookie. There's going to be some growing pains.
yeah. I
Offensive
love Miles
line
Sanders. I
is
can't
offensive
believe
line
they
is
got
okay. They added Ike Ekwonu last year at left tackle. Taylor Mouton is a
love
good
Miles
right tackle.
Sanders.
Some questions on the interior. Sanders, I don't know. I
Love
think
him.
he's partly a product of having a stellar offensive line in Philadelphia, so it'll be interesting to see. Never been a workhorse back.
Yeah, and I hope they treat him like one. I think he can be one.
We'll see.
I think he's got the
All
talent,
right,
man.
we've got
Yeah.
one more division, the NFC
seen.
East.
Oh, is this the chain
Oh,
smokers?
get like a little build-up.
I love this.
Washington Commanders finished in last place. They were actually fighting. There was towards the end of the season, it was like, oh, is the NFC East going to get him 4 teams?
And they got
a
him
lot
at
of
the
good
at
things.
one?
A lot
PFF
of
has them
good
at
things.
one?
PFF has them as the most likely team
Would have
to
taken
go
your
from
Falcons
worst to first.
over the Commanders personally.
I'm going to bring up that article back up so we could talk about some of their reasoning.
Yeah, I mean, Sam Howell. I mean, they're probably forecasting some growth from Sam Howell. They're probably forecasting a nice. And Sam Howell's lighting it up at OTAs for whatever that's worth.
That's from what we're seeing. Sam Howell is nothing but good reports coming out so
lighting
far.
it up.
And it's not just off season. You know, everybody's being sugar coated because Jordan Love, bad stuff coming out. We mentioned Trask and Mayfield. Today, Will Levis apparently had a really rough day.
Poor guy.
But Sam Howell, for what it's worth, is looking fantastic. They have a really, really good defense to the point where they can. There's talks about they can get rid of Chase Young and it's not going to affect them because they have Montez Sweat and Jonathan Allen and just such a good. So I'm a big Manuel Forbes fan. He's been getting picks left and right in training camp so far.
Stud.
So
Yeah,
but they have to contend with the Eagles. You know, basically one drive away from winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Cowboys, I think, got better.
3 playoff teams and
New York Giants in the playoffs. Yes, correct.
I think this, with all due respect to whoever wrote this article, I think this is a mistake. I think they should have been lower on this list.
Zoltan Boudet, from PFF. I haven't heard of him personally, but
I would have.
And it was also this was written in February.
Oh, that's fairness. A little more, I guess so. But Brian, I mean, here's the thing: the Eagles are the biggest thing, but the Cowboys and the Giants are no slouches either.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Agreed.
and your Falcons absolutely should have been higher. So I had Falcons at a 7.5. I'll put the Commanders at a 6. I'm lowering the Commanders. I'm
going to drop them to 4.5. I think they're under the 5 mid.
Yeah, they're not in
point.
that. They're not even in the Jets, Steelers, and
it's not.
Browns
And
tier.
honestly, if you're a Washington fan out there, this isn't a Commanders knock, but
No.
It's the opposite of the NFC South. That you're in a very tough. Your division sent 3 teams to the playoffs, and one of those teams
always the East
could have won the Super Bowl. So. That's what I'm saying. I expect him to be good. Like I'd like to see Sam Howell succeed. You know, that's a nice story. What was he, a 5th round draft pick? Former potential number 1 overall pick Sam Howell out of UNC slides all the way to the 5th round, and I'd like to see him succeed. But that is it's like the AFC West. It's just such a tough division. Chance of them actually winning the whole thing. The last point I'll say though, Kevin. I think the streak is still going. I think it's 18 straight years the NFC East has had a different winner.
That's fun. I do hope it continues.
There's your hope, Washington
love
fans.
parity. I love parity. I'll say this on the Washington's behalf. Terry McLaurin is one of the best, most underrated receivers in the league. Jahan Dotson is going to break out this year. He's going to have a big season, I think.
Apparently, Diami Brown is having a good connection. Former teammate of Sam Howell. If you get him as a weapon, too, of Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson is a nice 1-2 punch.
Gibson, right? Gibson's the post-hype sleeper on Gibson is real.
The whistle has blown. The 30 minutes of football is up. We said we were going to get to Purdy Lance. How about we table that until next week? We spent the whole 30 minutes just talking about worst to first candidate.
Doesn't get better.
Look at that. How's that for impromptu 5 minutes before showtime? Oh, yeah, it's Wednesday. I need to record.
It doesn't get better because, and I think my favorite thing is just how, McFadden, cut a rug. I think my favorite thing is how just kind of not on the same page we were. Again, this is 2 weeks in a row, McFadden. I'm starting to think this distance is good for us.
It's the beauty of this show. This show allows us to get on other sides of topics, and it's not so it's not so sculpted and structured and preordained.
It's very fun.
That is it. Thank you so much for all those listening, watching. If you're here for the first time, like, subscribe. Wherever you're listening or watching this, we do this every Wednesday night live at 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific. Didn't get any questions tonight, but Armand hung out with us in the chat. There were a few people watching live. Feel free. You can interrupt us. I don't care if we're in the middle of a segment. This show, you can ask questions at any time. We are just going to pivot as needed. Kevin, it's been a pleasure. Make sure to check out the Legit Football NFL podcast. Took Monday off for the holiday. They'll be back on Friday. Appreciate you, as always. This has been 30 Minutes of Football with Legit Football. We'll see you next time. That's spicy. Jimmy Garoppolo on there could be a benefit, but have they kind of burned that bridge?
We'll say this. Gardner Minshew is the best backup in the NFL.
I love Gardner.